It was a cold November night when I first heard the noises coming from my backyard. I was finishing up the dinner dishes when a muffled sound caught my attention. It sounded like someone rummaging through the trash cans. My first instinct was to call the police, but something made me pause. I grabbed a flashlight and walked over to the back window. That's when I saw her, for the first time. A thin girl, maybe 16 or 17 years old, wearing tattered clothes and a jacket way too thin for that kind of cold. She was sitting beside my garage, huddled against the wall, trying to shield herself from the wind that cut through the night like a knife. I stood there for a moment, just watching. My mind raced with questions. Who was she? Why was she in my yard? Was she dangerous? But as I looked closer, I didn't see a threat. I saw a scared kid shivering in the darkness, clearly with nowhere else to go. My late wife, Sarah, would have known exactly what to do. She had always been the compassionate one, the one who saw the good in everyone. Since she passed away 3 years ago, I'd been living alone in this big house, going through the motions of life without much purpose. I took a deep breath and made a decision that would change both of our lives forever. I opened the back door and stepped outside. The girl's head snapped up, her eyes wide with fear. She scrambled to her feet, ready to run. "Wait," I called out, raising my hands to show I meant no harm. "I'm not going to hurt you. Are you okay?" She didn't answer, just stood there, frozen, watching me like a cornered animal. I could see her whole body trembling, and I wasn't sure if it was from the cold or from fear. Maybe both. "Look, it's freezing out here," I continued, trying to keep my voice calm and gentle. "When's the last time you ate something?" Still no response, but I noticed her eyes flicker with something at the mention of food. Hunger, maybe. Hope. "My name is Richard. I live here alone. I just made some chicken soup earlier. There's plenty left if you're interested." She studied me for a long moment, clearly torn between her desperation and her instinct not to trust strangers. I couldn't blame her. A young girl alone on the streets had every reason to be cautious. "I'm not asking you to come inside the house," I added quickly, "but I have a garage. It's got heating and it's clean. You could warm up there, have some food and rest for the night. No strings attached. In the morning, if you want to leave, you can leave." Another long silence. Then, barely above a whisper, she spoke for the first time. "Why would you help me?" It was a fair question. In today's world, kindness from strangers was suspicious, but I answered honestly. Because someone should, and because if my wife were still alive, she would have already brought you inside and made up the guest room. Something in my words must have reached her, because I saw her shoulders relax just a little. She nodded slowly. "Just for tonight," she said. "Just for tonight," I agreed. I went back inside and prepared a tray with a bowl of hot soup, some bread, a bottle of water, and an apple. I also grabbed an old sleeping bag from the hall closet and some extra blankets. When I returned to the garage, she was standing just inside the door, still looking ready to bolt. I set everything down on my workbench. "The heating space is over there," I said, pointing. "It should warm up in here pretty quickly. Bathroom is through that door if you need it. It connects to the laundry room, but I'll make sure the house door stays locked so you have privacy." She nodded, but didn't move closer to the food. "I'll leave you alone now," I said, heading toward the door. "If you need anything, just knock on the back door. I'm a light sleeper." "Thank you," she whispered as I reached the doorway. I turned back. "What's your name?" She hesitated. "Maya." "Nice to meet you, Maya. Get some rest." That night, I barely slept. I kept thinking about that girl in my garage. What had led her to the streets? Where was her family? Part of me worried I'd made a terrible mistake. I didn't know anything about her. But the bigger part of me, the part that still heard Sarah's voice in my head, told me I'd done the right thing. The next morning, I woke up early and made breakfast. Scrambled eggs, toast, bacon, and orange juice. I put it all on a tray and headed to the garage, half expecting to find it empty. But when I opened the door, Maya was there, sitting on the sleeping bag, wide awake. She had folded the blankets nicely and had already cleaned up from the night before. "Good morning," I said, setting down the breakfast tray. "Thought you might be hungry." She looked at the food, then at me. "You didn't have to do this." "I know, but I wanted to." We sat in awkward silence for a moment. Then Maya spoke up. "I should probably get going soon."
I nodded. "That's your choice, but the offer stands. You can stay another night if you need to, or longer, at least until you figure out your next move." She looked at me with surprise and suspicion mixed together. "Why would you let a stranger stay in your garage? You don't know anything about me." "You're right, I don't. But I know you're a kid who needs help, and I have the space. Like I said, no strings attached. You don't owe me anything. If you want to talk, we can talk. If you want to be left alone, that's fine too." Maya stared down at her hands. I could see she was struggling with the decision. Pride versus necessity, fear versus hope. "Just a few more days," she finally said, "until I figure things out." "Take all the time you need," I replied. And that's how it started. What I thought would be one night turned into several days, then a week. I established a routine. Every morning I'd bring breakfast to the garage, every evening dinner. I never pushed her to talk, never asked invasive questions. Slowly, gradually, Maya started to open up. I learned that she'd run away from her foster home 6 months ago. She'd been in the system since she was 12, after her mother died from an overdose, and no relatives came forward to take her in. The foster homes had been a nightmare. Neglect, abuse, being moved from place to place like an unwanted package. The last home had been the worst, and one night she just grabbed her backpack and left. "I thought it would be easier on my own," she told me one evening, sitting on an old lawn chair in the garage while I was working on fixing a broken shelf. "At least I'd be in control of my own life, you know? But it's harder than I thought. Finding food, staying warm, staying safe. Some nights I wondered if I'd made a huge mistake. You were trying to survive. That takes courage, more than most people have." She gave a small, sad smile. "Courage or stupidity. I'm not sure which." As the weeks passed, I noticed changes. Maya started to look healthier. The dark circles under her eyes faded. She smiled more. I'd upgraded her situation, too. I brought out an old cot, more blankets, a small TV. I even ran an extension cord so she could charge her phone, which she'd been keeping alive at public libraries. One day, about 3 weeks in, I knocked on the garage door with a proposition. "Maya, I've been thinking," I said when she opened it. "Winter's getting worse. It's going to snow soon. The garage heater is good, but it's not meant for long-term living. What if you moved into the guest room? Just until spring, at least." She shook her head immediately. "Richard, you've already done so much. I can't impose like that." "It's not an imposition. The room is empty. It's been empty for 3 years. And honestly, having someone else in the house again, it might be good for me, too." She bit her lip, considering. "What would people think? Your neighbors?" "Let them think whatever they want. I know the truth, and so do you. Besides, most of my neighbors barely notice me anyway. I'm just the quiet guy who mows his lawn and keeps to himself." After some more convincing, Maya agreed. We moved her few belongings into the guest room. That first night, I made a proper dinner, pot roast with potatoes and carrots, one of Sarah's old recipes. We ate at the dining room table. the first time that table had been used for its actual purpose in years. "This is really good," Maya said between bites. "Thanks. My wife taught me. She was the real cook in the family." "What was she like?" Maya asked tentatively. I smiled, remembering. She was kind, patient. She worked as a nurse for 30 years. She always said her job was to see the person, not just the patient. She would have liked you. I wish I could have met her. Me too. The next few weeks fell into a comfortable rhythm. I'd wake up early and make breakfast. Maya had found my wife's old books in the guest room and had started reading voraciously. She was smart, I realized. Really smart. One evening, I found her working through some math problems in an old textbook. "Were you in school before?" I asked. She nodded. "I was actually doing pretty well. I liked learning. But when you're moving between foster homes every few months, it's hard to keep up. And then when I ran away, well, school obviously wasn't an option anymore." An idea started forming in my mind. "How old are you exactly, Maya?" "I'll be 17 in 2 months." "So you're technically still supposed to be in school." She gave me a wary look. "If you're thinking about calling social services, please don't do that. They'll just put me back in the system." "That's not what I'm thinking," I said carefully. "But education is important. You're clearly bright. You shouldn't have to give up on school just because of circumstances."
What are you suggesting? Let me make some calls. There might be programs, alternative schools, something. And in the meantime, what if we worked on getting your GED? I could help you study." Maya looked skeptical, but also hopeful. "You'd do that?" "Of course. Sarah and I never had kids of our own. She always wanted to be a foster parent, actually, but I was too focused on my career back then. I regret that now. So maybe this is the universe giving me a second chance to do something good." And so we started. Every evening after dinner, we'd sit at that dining room table and study. English, math, history, science. Maya absorbed everything like a sponge. She was hungry for knowledge, for a chance at a better future. Watching her work so hard, seeing her determination, it gave me purpose again. For the first time since Sarah died, I felt like I was truly alive, not just existing. Christmas came. I put up a tree for the first time in years. Maya helped decorate it, and I told her stories about past Christmases with Sarah. On Christmas morning, I gave Maya a wrapped package. "You didn't have to get me anything," she protested. "Just open it." Inside was a laptop. Nothing fancy, but good enough for schoolwork and research. Maya's eyes filled with tears. "Richard, this is too much." "It's not enough," I said. "You're working so hard, Maya. You deserve the tools to succeed." She hugged me then, the first real hug we'd shared. "Thank you," she whispered, "for everything, for seeing me as more than just some homeless kid, for believing in me." "You make it easy," I replied, my own voice thick with emotion. Winter turned to spring. Maya passed her GED with flying colors, scoring in the 95th percentile. I was so proud I took her out to celebrate at the nicest restaurant in town. She wore a dress we'd picked out together at a thrift store, and for the first time she looked like what she was, a normal teenager with a bright future ahead. "So, what's next?" I asked over dessert. "Have you thought about college?" Maya's expression grew uncertain. "I've thought about it, but Richard, college costs money, a lot of money, and I don't have anything. No savings, no family to help, no real documents even. I'm not even sure if I legally exist in the system anymore." "We'll figure it out," I assured her. "One step at a time. First, we need to get your documentation sorted. Then we can look into scholarships, financial aid, community college. There are options." But even as I spoke, I could see the doubt in her eyes. She'd been let down so many times before. Why should this be any different? That night, I lay in bed thinking about Maya's future.
I'd grown to care about her deeply. She felt like the daughter I never had. My retirement savings were comfortable. Sarah and I had been careful with money, and her life insurance had left me well off. I didn't need much. What was the point of having all that money if I couldn't use it to help someone who truly needed it? The next morning at breakfast, I brought it up. "Maya, I want to talk to you about something serious." She looked up from her cereal, immediately worried. "What is it?" "I've been thinking about your college situation, and I want to help. Financially, I mean." "Richard, no, you've already done so much." "Please, let me finish," I interrupted gently. "I have money set aside, more than I need for my own retirement. Sarah and I never had kids to leave it to. I've been thinking about what she would want me to do with it, and I know she'd want me to invest it in someone's future. In your future." Maya was shaking her head, tears forming in her eyes. "I can't accept that. It's too much." "It's not charity, Maya. Think of it as an investment. You're brilliant. You're driven. You're going to do amazing things with your life. I want to be part of making that happen. Sarah would want that too. But what if I fail? What if I'm not good enough?" I reached across the table and took her hand. "You won't fail. And even if you stumble, so what? That's part of learning. The point is, you deserve the chance. Every kid deserves that chance, and you've been denied it long enough." Maya broke down crying then. Not sad tears, but tears of relief, of hope, of finally believing that maybe, just maybe, things could work out. Over the next few months, we tackled the bureaucratic nightmare of getting Maya's life documented. We hired a lawyer who specialized in helping kids who'd aged out of or escaped the foster system. It was complicated, but slowly we made progress. We got her a birth certificate, a social ID, all the pieces of paper that society demands to prove you exist. Then came the college applications. Maya applied to 10 schools, including some state universities and community colleges. Her essays were powerful. She wrote about survival, resilience, and the kindness of strangers who become family. She wrote about second chances and the determination to build a life worth living. The acceptance letters started coming in April. 8 out of 10 schools accepted her. Some even offered partial scholarships based on her story and her impressive GED scores. We celebrated each acceptance like a victory, because that's exactly what it was. Maya chose a state university about 2 hours away, far enough to give her independence, close enough that she could visit. She'd major in social work, she decided. She wanted to help kids like her, kids in the system who felt invisible and forgotten. "I want to be for other kids what you were for me," she told me. "Someone who sees them, someone who believes in them." Summer arrived and we spent it preparing, shopping for dorm supplies, getting her a better laptop, making sure she had everything she needed. I taught her how to manage a budget, how to do laundry properly, all the little life skills she'd need. We spent evenings on the back porch, just talking about everything and nothing. "Are you nervous?" I asked one night in late July. "Terrified," she admitted, "but excited too. A year ago, I was sleeping in your garage, scared and hopeless. Now I'm going to college. It doesn't feel real." "It's real," I assured her. "You earned this, Maya. Every bit of it." Move-in day came in late August. We loaded up my old SUV with all her belongings and made the 2-hour drive to campus. Her dorm room was small but cozy, and her roommate seemed nice. As we unpacked boxes and set up her space, I felt a bittersweet mixture of pride and sadness. Pride at how far she'd come, sadness that she'd no longer be in the guest room down the hall. When everything was unpacked and arranged, Maya walked me back to my car. We stood there in the parking lot, both knowing this was a significant goodbye. "Thank you doesn't even begin to cover it," Maya said, her voice breaking. "You saved my life, Richard, literally. I don't know where I'd be right now if you hadn't offered me that garage." "You saved mine too," I replied honestly. "I was just going through the motions before you came along. You gave me purpose again. You reminded me what it means to care about someone, to have family. So thank you. We hugged for a long time. When we finally pulled apart, I had one more thing to say. Maya, no matter what happens, you'll always have a home with me. You're not alone anymore. You have family now. Remember that. I will, she promised. I love you, Richard. I love you too, kiddo. I drove home with tears streaming down my face. The house felt emptier than ever that night. But I was happy, genuinely happy for the first time in years. Maya was going to be okay. Better than okay. She was going to thrive. The fall semester flew by. Maya called every week, full of stories about her classes, her new friends, the campus activities she was joining. She was flourishing, and I couldn't have been prouder. I visited once in October, taking her out for lunch and meeting some of her friends. They were good kids, and it warmed my heart to see Maya laughing and relaxed, finally living the normal college experience she deserved. Thanksgiving came and Maya came home for the break. It was wonderful having her back in the house. We cooked turkey together, watched movies, and fell back into our comfortable routines. On the last night before she returned to school, we sat in the living room with hot chocolate. "How's everything really going?" I asked. "Be honest." Maya smiled. "It's amazing, Richard. Better than I ever imagined. My professors think I should consider graduate school eventually. Can you believe that? Me? In graduate school? I can absolutely believe it. You're exceptional, Maya." She hesitated, then continued. "There's actually something I wanted to tell you. I've been working with a professor who specializes in foster care reform. She's connected me with some advocacy groups. I've been sharing my story, trying to change the system. It feels good to turn something painful into something purposeful. That's incredible. Sarah would be so proud of you. I'm so proud of you." The spring semester started and our weekly calls continued. But in late February, something changed. Maya's calls became less frequent. When we did talk, she seemed distracted, evasive even. She assured me everything was fine, just busy with midterms and projects, but I could sense something was different. Then, on a Saturday morning in early March, I heard a car pull into my driveway. I looked out the window and froze. It was a luxury car, a Mercedes, sleek and obviously expensive. For a moment, I thought someone had the wrong address, but then the driver's door opened and Maya stepped out. I rushed to the front door, my mind reeling with confusion and worry. Maya walked up the path, and I could see she was nervous, her hands fidgeting with her car keys. "Maya? What's going on? Whose car is that?" "It's mine," she said quietly. "Can we talk inside?"
We sat in the living room, and I waited, my heart pounding. A dozen terrible scenarios ran through my mind. Had she gotten involved with something illegal? Was she in trouble? Maya took a deep breath. "Richard, I need to tell you something. Something I've been keeping from you. Not because I wanted to lie, but because I needed to be sure it was real first." "You're scaring me, Maya. What's going on?" "Do you remember when I told you about my mother? How she died when I was 12? I nodded. "You said she had an addiction problem?" "That's true. But what I didn't know, what I only found out a few months ago, is that before she got sick, before things got bad, she'd set up a trust fund for me. She'd inherited some money from my grandmother and wanted to make sure I'd be taken care of if anything happened to her." I stared at Maya, trying to process this information. She continued, her words coming faster now. "The trust was managed by a law firm, but because I went into the foster system and then disappeared, they couldn't find me. The money just sat there, accumulating interest for years. When we got my legal documentation sorted out last year, when we got my social ID and everything, it triggered something in their system. They've been trying to reach me." "How much money are we talking about?" I asked, almost afraid to hear the answer. "The original amount was $50,000, but with interest and investments over 5 years, it's grown to almost $200,000. I sat back, stunned. "Maya, that's..."
That's incredible. That's life-changing money. It is, she agreed. And Richard, I owe it all to you. If you hadn't helped me, if you hadn't gotten me documented, if you hadn't given me a safe place to exist as a person again, I would never have found this money. I'd still be on the streets, or worse. Tears were streaming down her face now. So, I bought the car, not because I need a luxury car, but because I wanted to show you. I wanted you to see what your kindness created. You didn't just help me survive, Richard. You gave me back my entire life. I was crying too. Maya, I'm so happy for you. This is wonderful news. You deserve every bit of that money and more. There's something else, she said, pulling an envelope from her purse. I want to pay you back for the legal fees, the college expenses, everything you've invested in me. I calculated it all out. Absolutely not, I interrupted firmly. That money is yours, Maya, for your education, your future, your security. I don't want a penny of it back. But, Richard, no buts. What I gave you wasn't a loan. It was a gift. It was family helping family. And that's exactly what you should do with this money. Use it to build your life. Finish college without debt. Go to graduate school if you want. Start your career without the burden of financial stress. That's what your mother wanted for you. And that's what I want for you too. Maya was sobbing now. You've given me so much. How can I ever repay you? I reached over and took her hands. You already have. You gave a lonely old man a reason to wake up in the morning. You filled this empty house with laughter again. You reminded me what it means to be needed, to matter to someone. You gave me back my purpose, Maya. That's worth more than any amount of money. We sat there holding each other, both crying, both overwhelmed by the strange and beautiful journey that had brought us to this moment, a journey that started with a scared girl in a cold garage and led to this, a young woman with her whole future shining bright before her. I want to do something, Maya said, after we'd both calmed down. Something meaningful with this money, besides just college. What are you thinking? I want to start a fund for other kids like me. Kids aging out of foster care, kids who run away, kids who fall through the cracks. I want to help them get documented, get educated, get a real chance at life. We could call it the Sarah Fund, if that's okay with you, in honor of your wife. I couldn't speak for a moment, too choked up by the beauty of the gesture. Finally, I managed. She would have loved that. She would have loved you. Will you help me set it up? You could be on the board, help me make decisions about who to help and how? I'd be honored. And that's exactly what we did. Maya used a portion of her trust fund to establish the Sarah Fund for Youth in Transition. With her story, her passion, and her personal understanding of the system's failures, we were able to attract additional donors and grants. Within a year, we'd helped 15 kids. Within 2 years, 50. We provided legal assistance, educational support, temporary housing, and most importantly, hope. Maya graduated with honors and went on to get her master's in social work. She became a fierce advocate for foster care reform, testifying before state legislators, writing articles, speaking at conferences. The scared girl who once slept in my garage became a powerful voice for the voiceless.
As for me, I found my retirement had become the most fulfilling time of my life. Working with Maya on the fund, meeting the kids we helped, seeing lives transformed. It gave me joy I'd never imagined possible after Sarah's death. People sometimes ask me if I ever worried about letting a homeless teenager into my life, if I ever regretted taking that risk. The answer is simple, not for a single second. That cold November night when I offered Maya my garage wasn't just the night I saved her life, it was the night she saved mine. We're family now, Maya and I, not through blood, but through something stronger. Choice. We chose each other. We chose love, compassion, and faith in the possibility of redemption. And that choice changed everything. Last month, Maya called me Dad for the first time. We were at an event for the Sarah Fund, surrounded by kids we'd helped, and she was introducing me to a reporter. "This is my dad, Richard," she said, as naturally as breathing. I thought my heart would burst. Later, I asked her about it. "You know you don't have to call me that." She smiled. "I know I don't have to. I want to. You're more of a father to me than anyone has ever been. Biology doesn't make family. Love does." She's right, of course. Family isn't about DNA or legal documents. It's about showing up. It's about seeing someone, really seeing them, when the rest of the world looks away. It's about offering shelter to a stranger and discovering they were never a stranger at all, just family you hadn't met yet. Sometimes I think about that night, about how easily I could have just called the police, locked my doors, and gone to bed. How my life would have continued in its quiet, lonely routine. How Maya would have disappeared into the cold night, another invisible kid that society failed. But I didn't make that choice, and neither did she. She chose to trust when trust had been beaten out of her. She chose to hope when hope seemed foolish. She chose to accept help when pride could have driven her away. Those choices, her bravery, and my willingness to act, created something beautiful. They created a family. They created a fund that's now helped hundreds of kids. They created a ripple effect of kindness that continues to spread. The luxury car is still parked in my driveway sometimes when Maya comes home to visit. But it's not about the car, or the money, or even the success she's achieved. It's about two people who found each other in the darkness and decided to be each other's light. That's the real story. Not about a homeless teen who came back with a luxury car, but about how a single act of kindness can change two lives forever. About how family can be found in the most unexpected places. About how it's never too late to matter, to connect, to love. Maya still has that old sleeping bag, the one she used that first night in my garage. She keeps it in her closet, she told me, as a reminder of where she started and how far she's come. Sometimes, she says, when life gets hard or she doubts herself, she takes it out and remembers that cold November night. She remembers that someone cared enough to offer shelter. And that memory gives her strength to keep going, to keep fighting for other kids who need someone to care. As for me, I sleep better now than I have in years, because I know that when my time comes, I'll have something to tell Sarah. I'll tell her that I finally understood what she always knew, that the purpose of life isn't to accumulate wealth or achievements, but to love generously and help fearlessly. I'll tell her about Maya, about the fund we created in her name, about the lives we've touched. And I think she'll smile and say what she always said. "I knew you had it in you, Richard. I always knew." That November night, I let a homeless teen sleep in my garage. Weeks later, she came back with a luxury car. But more importantly, she came back. She stayed. She became my daughter. And together we built something that will outlast both of us. A legacy of compassion, a testament to the transformative power of seeing another person's humanity and choosing to act. That's the story. That's our story. And I wouldn't change a single moment of it.